Coming up, the Robo Pilot. It can fly any airplane.
Mastering the go-around, and a preview of our last fly-in of the year.
And taken to the air to save the critters. AOPA Live this week begins in just a moment.
The people of AOPA's Legal Services Plan work to help protect your certificates, and they love to fly as much as you do. The AOPA Legal Services Plan is offered as part of our Pilot Protection Services. It's a members-only benefit provided to thousands of pilots like you.
This is AOPA Live This Week with Tom Haynes and Melissa Rudinger.
Well, it's not been a great week for general aviation in the general news media. Several accidents have made the national newscast, most notably the crash of a Cessna Latitude with NASCAR star Dale Earnhardt Jr. and his family on board.
Everyone got out of the airplane okay, even as the back end caught fire. Now, it's much too early to know what caused this accident, but we do know the jet touched down hard.
The airplane basically bounced at least twice before coming down hard on the right main landing gear. And you can actually see the right main landing gears collapsing on the video. The airplane continued down the runway, off to the end, through a fence, and it came to a stop behind me here on Highway 91.
Some witnesses say the aircraft landed about midway down the 4,500-foot runway. The Citation Latitude needs about 3,000 feet to land and stop. It went through a fence and stopped about 1,000 feet off the end of the runway. Now, as we record this, the preliminary NTSB accident report isn't yet available, and we don't know why the pilots didn't initiate a go-around if, in fact, the aircraft was going to land long on a short runway. So while not drawing any conclusions about this particular accident, we did start thinking about go-arounds.
Well, and as it happens, Tom, an article in the latest edition of AOPA Flight Training Magazine talks about go-arounds, and we had just finished this tips and techniques video on a procedure that every pilot should be ready to execute every time they land. Okay, so here I am, short, final, nice stable approach, ready to land. Oh, dang. Okay, full power, establish best angle of climb pitch, retract flaps to 20 degrees, classic go-around. Okay, no doubt, that's what I should have done. But there are a lot of reasons to do a go-around, and you should be prepared for a go-around on every single landing. Simple rule. If you're not absolutely confident of a safe landing, go around. Something on the runway? Go around. Something might enter the runway? Go around. Unstable approach? Go around. Too high? Go around. Just doesn't feel right? Go around. Now on this approach, I'm right of center line and high. Could I land? Most likely, but why risk it? No shame in going around. Don't hesitate to make the go-around decision. If you think you might need to go around, just do it. And the way you do it is simple.
Okay, going around.
Full power, pitch to the best angle of climb airspeed, get rid of drag.
I'm just going to reduce the flaps.
With most airplanes, that last notch of flaps is mostly drag, so get rid of it carefully. Go to approach flaps first. Now, with those older Cessnas with 40 degrees of flaps, well, you're going to have to get rid of those last 10 degrees quickly. Most won't climb at all with full flaps. So, go to 30 degrees first, then as you establish a positive climb, go to 20 degrees. In all aircraft, once you're in a solid climb and clear of obstacles, you can transition to best rate of climb airspeed and slowly retract the remaining flaps. What about landing gear? All right, with most airplanes, flaps have more drag than the gear, so get the flaps first. Wait on the gear until you have a positive rate of climb. Now that also protects the airplane if you happen to sag down to the runway before you get the climb established. If the airplane's POH says something different, okay, do it by the book. One other thing. Most airplanes will pitch up with a sudden power application, so be ready for it. You're going to have to push forward and step on the right rudder. Now, the big Cessna singles like the 182 and 210, you're going to have to push really hard, as Dave Hirschman demonstrates.
The purpose of today's exercise is really to show some of the things that can go wrong in a go-around. And, particularly with these Cessna singles, the big engine Cessna singles, the 182, 210, 185, 180, There's a strong pitch up moment when you initiate full power with the flaps down for a go-around. So I'll configure the airplane in a landing mode, and then we'll simulate a go-around and just see what happens when the pilot doesn't correct immediately for the pitch up moment. Okay, here we go. Now we'll just execute a full power go-around. So here comes full power. Watch the nose come up. There's 10 degrees, 20 degrees, still rising, 30 degrees. Now the nose starts to roll off on the left wing.
Now here's an alternate procedure for those big Cessnas.
What I'd like to do is kind of break it in two, where I'd just say, okay, the first step is to stop the descent. We'll just add cruise power and fly level. Then we'll configure the airplane for a climb. First step, cruise power. Trim, approach flaps. Okay, now I'm flying in trim. Now I can add full power and climb.
So, go practice go-arounds with your instructor until you can do them instinctively.
Now, Tom, I think most of us don't really practice go-arounds, and, and it's a good thing to go through, particularly like with the 182. I mean, that is, if you're at forward CG, got the trim rolled back to ease up the elevator on that landing, and then you push on the power. It's a keep it in place.
It is a big push. Now, it's psychologically, I like to think about every approach is a missed approach, or it's a go-around. And if you're prepared for that, and that landing happens to result, good deal. But you're really primed to go around on every time you're approaching.
That's really a good way to look at it. And I know flying with you, that sometimes, particularly going into like a short runway or something, you will verbalize it. I don't have to land.
Yeah, that's right. We can always go around.
Always go around.
And while we're on the subject of tips, here's something everyone who flies a fuel-injected airplane might benefit from. So tell me, do you hate hot starts as much as I do? Well, the Air Safety Institute has a new safety tip video to help. It shows why hot starts are a problem and gives some tips to make them easier.
The fuel lines are positioned right over the engine, above the hot cylinder fins. Consider what happens after shutdown. The heat rising up from the engine boils the fuel right out of the lines and turns it into vapor. Some of this vapor then escapes into the intake manifold, which by itself is a good thing for startup. Vapor in the intake manifold means that it's adequately primed, but you still have vaporized fuel in the lines. So at best, you might get the engine to fire up, only to have it die a moment later. What you might need to do is purge the vapor from the fuel lines without allowing excessive amounts of fuel into the intake ports.
You can find the full video on the Air Safety Institute homepage. And if you're traveling around New England, you might find yourself in a brand new piston twin in the near future. The FAA has just awarded a type certificate to the Tecnam P2012 Traveler. The 11-seat aircraft is designed for commuter airlines, and the first 20 travelers in the U.S. are going to Cape Air in Massachusetts. They'll be flying across the pond from Italy in the next few weeks.
And another fleet buy for a new airplane to be used in commuter service. Quantum Air has signed a deal to buy 22 all-electric E-Flyer 2 and E-Flyer 4 aircraft. Quantum will use them for an air taxi service in Los Angeles. They say electric aircraft are safer, quieter, more efficient, and they don't pollute. And how about a pollution-free Piper? A company in California is working to make hydrogen the aircraft fuel of the future. Zero Avia is testing their new hydrogen electric powertrain in a Piper Matrix. The company claims their Matrix is the world's largest zero-emissions aircraft flying without any fossil fuels. The target is to make 10 to 20-seat aircraft in the future that can fly 300 to 500 miles. The company says the cost to operate the hydrogen power plant will be half as much as a turbine engine. Starting in 2022, Zero Avia plans to lease the power plant on a per-hour basis to customers as a drop-in replacement in existing aircraft.
And here's something you can drop into existing aircraft: Robo Pilot. Earlier this month, the Air Force Research Laboratory and Design Technologies put Robo Pilot in a Cessna 206, and it flew for 2 hours. The idea is to turn any aircraft into an unmanned drone. Robo Pilot can operate the yoke, rudder, brakes, throttle, and more. Just replace the pilot seat. And when the mission's over, take out Robo Pilot and convert the aircraft back to one flown by an organic computer.
I don't know, that's kind of bizarre having that kind of contraption in the airplane. It's really, I'm sorry, I can't do that, Dave.
Yes, that is a little bit strange to have a thing next to you.
Okay, well, when we come back, there's a lot more to Tullahoma than you might think.
And no dog left behind.
There are many important things to consider before purchasing an aircraft. Let the experts at Aerospace Reports help guide you through the process. We combine expert knowledge with our long-standing commitment to personalized customer service to perfect your transaction. Learn more at aerospacereports.com.
Welcome back. The AOPA Tullahoma Fly-In is fast approaching. We hope you can join us in Middle Tennessee on September 13th and 14th. There's a great new educational program, and you'll get a chance to see some incredible aerial action. AOPA Live's Paul Harrop joins us now from Tullahoma. Paul?
Hey guys, the ramp here in Tullahoma might be quiet now, but it's not going to stay that way for September 13th and 14th. We've got some really incredible opportunities to see some aerial excitement at our fly-in. You can't go wrong with Mustangs, and the best of the best will be flying in Tullahoma. Lee Louderback, aka Mr. Mustang, will be tearing up the skies on Friday and Saturday. Lee's the top guy Mustang pilots go to for transition training. If the mighty Merlin doesn't get you excited, first talk to your doctor and then consider Jeremy Holt and his Pitts biplane. He's also on the docket for Tullahoma. Not too shabby in his Pitts Model 12 called Pegasus. But speaking of horses, make like a cowboy and mosey on up to our Stoll Invitational. Some of the region's best backcountry pilots will be strutting their stuff right in front of the crowds. Stoll Wrangler Jimmy Gist runs a great event. I'll be hosting live coverage of the Stoll Invitational with Mike Vivian. He spent 34 years flying in Alaska and has some great commentary on what you're seeing. So there is plenty of action in Tullahoma. So no matter what your favorite flavor of flying is, you're going to get a chance to experience it here in Tullahoma. From the vintage warbird of P-51 Mustang with Lee Louderback, to modern aerobatics from Jeremy Holt, to the Stoll Invitational. You'll be able to get right up close and personal with the Stoll flyers and talk to them and share tips and techniques. And then we also have a very special thing on this field, the Beechcraft Heritage Museum. We'll talk about that more next week, but it's a really exciting opportunity, and we hope you'll join us here in Tullahoma in just a few weeks. Paul Harrop, AOPA Live.
Thanks, Paul. You can get all the information on the event from our Fly-In website. Just go to aopa.org/flyin.
Well, walk into any restaurant, or heck, just walk down the street, and you can see that most of us pay more attention to our apps than other people. And that seems to be true for pilots, too. Tom?
Sorry.
You want to pay attention here?
Gotcha.
Okay, put your phone down. Yeah. All right. Well, as I was saying, even pilots tend to interact more with computers than real humans, and that's what the latest AOPA weather survey says. The number of pilots who call flight service for their initial weather briefing continues to decline from 40% down to 37%. More pilots are getting briefed online and through their apps, but they still value flight service. A lot more details and the survey itself on our website.
Well, the clock is ticking. As we record this, there are just over 9 days left in the Ray Foundation's 2019 You Can Fly Challenge. Contribute to the challenge by August 31st, and your donation's impact will be doubled by the Ray Foundation's generous dollar-for-dollar matching grant of up to $2 million. It's a total of $4 million that will be used to support the future of general aviation. Donate today at foundation.aopa.org/challenge.
Well, Tom, and speaking of generosity in the pilot community, AOPA Live's Josh Cochran tells the story about a group of pilots in Pittsburgh using general aviation to save animals.
It's an issue of supply and demand. Overflowing animal shelters in the South are forced to euthanize dogs. While up north, families longing for a rescue dog can't get one. That's where the Pittsburgh Aviation Animal Rescue Team comes in.
PART is a nonprofit that takes animals from danger to safety.
The organization uses the power of general aviation to fly at-risk animals to new homes.
There is such a high that we get when we do this. There's this moment when you land, you get there, You just flew 2 or 3 hours, you're cranking your back out, and these animals start coming towards you, and you can see it in their eyes. I mean, it's a real moment that you get hooked on. They know what's going on. They know something special is about to happen.
It all started when PART co-founders Jonathan Plessett and Brad Childs were looking for an excuse to fly.
And so we started to dabble. We started to, every once in a while, we'd on the weekend go fly a dog somewhere. And we started outfitting our little 1974 Piper Warrior to fly animals. And at that time, if we had 4 dogs on board, we were like, oh, we can't believe we got 4 dogs in this airplane. And people started contacting us. Hey, I have these dogs over here. Do you guys want to come fly here and take them over here? All of a sudden, the seedlings of PART was born.
From there, PART grew when celebrity chef Rachel Ray donated money for a Mahindra air van.
It's going to take us from being able to transport 8 to 12 dogs at a time to 20 to 35 at a time.
PART also has a van they use to transport animals when the weather isn't good for flying. And really, the PART mission isn't just about helping animals, it's about helping people.
Every time we do a rescue, every time a dog or a cat is saved, that's impacting somebody's family. Some daughter, some mom, some grandma is going to get an animal that's going to change their life.
And one of the favorite stories from PART is about the rescue of a dog named Quasimodo.
The dog was born deformed, had a problem with its paws, and had surgery at Ohio State University, but they had a big problem is they couldn't get the dog to New Jersey. So we, it was a 1-dog mission, but we jumped on the opportunity to go. Flew the dog to Philadelphia, where we met a lady and her entire family. And when I tell you these little kids were hugging and crying with love of Quasimodo, it was again one of those times where you're like, this is a story about helping people, and look what we just did. And what better use of our skills as aviators than to go have the impact to help people like that.
Josh Cochran, AOPA Live.
And you can read more about PART in the July issue of AOPA Pilot magazine. Gosh, that was a great story.
It was a great story, and what a great use of a general aviation airplane.
Yeah, and there are a lot of different folks who are doing that,
right.
And you're involved with dog rescues.
I've done a few. Both of our dogs are rescues, and I've used our airplane to go pick up a couple of our own dogs, but I've also transported a few others over the years, and it's a very rewarding thing to do.
Yeah, it is indeed.
It is. Well, that's our program for this week. Thanks for being a part of it. If you're joining us on YouTube, please do like and subscribe.
And if you want to let us know what you think, either leave a comment or below or drop us a line. AOPA Live at AOPA.org is the address. Hope to see you next week.